Followed him. I've been a Christian that's been a total hypocrite, that became addicted to drugs, and then I've been someone who's delivered back from them. So I'm not saying this as someone who has my act together. I'm saying this as someone who's been, been on the high points of life, someone who's been in the gutter, absolutely broken, and then someone that God has found again to pull me out and to clean me up and redeem me. And I always feel like it's just good, not to bring any awkwardness, but just to say, he's in a good mood. Like, God's in a good mood. He really is. And I have to share this testimony because I think it talks about God's goodness. 3 weeks ago, we had this group at our house. And we watched a video on the Father heart of God. And it talks about how He's such a good Father. And how He loves us so much. How His love is unconditional. We had this young man that showed up. I'd never seen him. He was all tatted up and stretched earlobes and the whole 9 yards. And afterwards, we just put a couple chairs up front. We said, hey, if this thing spoke to anybody, we just want to pray over you guys. And we had 2 people come up and sit down, and as soon as they sat there, were just weeping. You felt God's real sweet presence there, and just had this kind of vague impression, nothing mystical, but this vague impression in my imagination. I saw this kid tied up to a pole with his back bloodied and whipped up, and I saw Jesus come and cut him down, throw him over his shoulder, and then carry him and put healing stuff on his wounds. And so, just kind of a light impression. So I just shared it with this young man. I said, hey, I see this picture. You're tied up. Your back's whipped. Jesus cuts you down, bro. He puts you over his shoulder. He heals you, and He comes and puts healing on your wounds. He just breaks. Just weeps and weeps and weeps. And, we did ministry for a couple hours, and later on that kid comes up to me, and he's like, hey, man, you had that picture for me. What was that about? I'm like, I don't know. I said, sometimes I get pictures, sometimes they're from the Lord, sometimes I ate a lot of pizza that night, and I'm having like a vague imagination. I said, I'm just trying to be obedient. I don't know. It's not really mystical. It's just a thing that kind of popped in my head. And he's like, well, you had a picture I was whipped up on my back, and then God healed me. I said, well, yeah. He's like, let me show you something, dude. And he lifted up his back, and he had been jumped a few months ago by his friends, and he had stab wounds all up and down his back. And I had no idea to know that. And that's not something that happens to me very often. But the Father knew that. And the Father knew that this kid needed to know that he was good. And needed to know that he needed healing. And that night, he decided to follow the Lord. And he got filled up with God's power. And it was just another sense of the transformation of goodness. And, the reason I bring it up, guys, is because I think some of you guys knew me in high school. Some of you may not remember how I was like in high school. I was not exactly open to that kind of stuff. But I had an encounter with someone who was really good to me. The Father was really good to me and decided to redeem me. And, as I kind of prayed, and was like, what would I say? And I felt like there was a real specific phrase He wanted me to say. He said, tell them that these are the times. That these are the times. And I lived in Portland for like 2 years looking back, wishing I was in Texas. I lived in Jesus Chapel my sophomore and junior year, wishing I was back in Germany. I've lived at various times in my life, looking back, wishing I was in another place. And I just want to tell you all tonight that I honestly feel for us right now. A lot of us are in our 30s, going into our 40s. We have enough life, enough scars, enough wisdom to go through and take a few knocks. But I really feel like these are the days for us, that these are the times that we're in. And as much as I'd love to come back and talk and have a reunion and talk about the past, I feel like that He's destined us. There's a destiny on us, and there's always a fresh start. It says in Hebrews 11:1, faith is the substance of things hoped for. There's faith, hope, and love. I feel like each of those things are a legitimate substance. Like, they're not a physical substance, but they're a spiritual substance. Love, you hear that scripture at every wedding. It's a substance that draws people together. You hear of faith, obviously, is a substance, pulls people out. But, I think hope is a mainstay. I'm a firm believer, man. My mantra in life is like, you always change. Nothing's ever set in stone. There's never a course that can't be altered. There's always something that can be shifted. And, I don't know who needs to hear that tonight, but I thought it was really good for me just to go, Lord, what do you want to say? What do you want to speak tonight? And He just tell them that the times they're living in right now, that these are the times. The people that you have in your life, the relationships that God's put in your life right now, the people that are around you, these are the moments right here. And we can use these 20-year reunions and times like this to be significant landmarks. And it's always good to look back and reminisce and have those memories, and that, they bring such warmth and stuff. But I always think it's good, as DJ was telling me, he's like, I try to live in the moment. And I think it's so easy to live sometimes and look and wish it was this way or that way, or look forward or look too much back. But I just want to encourage you guys that it's good to see you guys. And like for me, this is living in the moment. It's not, well, I want to go and see people I knew a long time ago. It's like, you know what? I want to go and renew relationships with people that I knew a long time ago, but I want to pick up where we left off and create new friendships and new relationships and establish that again. And so